So every generation has events that they experience that they can remember where they were and exactly what they were doing when they first heard the news. For the baby boomers, think of JFK's assassination. For Gen Xers like myself, there was the Challenger explosion. And for the older millennials, 9/11. Well, there was one event that began in the summer of 1994 and continued through, well, a series of events that began in the summer of 94 and went until the fall of 95, that all three of these generations likely remember that way. OJ Simpson. First, there was the news of the double murders, and then the slow-speed chase through the streets of LA in the white Ford Bronco, and finally the 9.5-month trial that ended in the not guilty verdict. And on top of that, we all have our opinions of whether he was innocent or guilty. And for the most part, I was always in the guilty camp. But there was a time where I wavered on that a little bit, and maybe I had my second thoughts. The summer that began in 1994, I was 16 years old, and I vividly remember the night of the white Ford Bronco chase. That night, I had told my parents that I was going out with some buddies to see Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie Wolf. We were going to go see it at Tally-Ho in Leesburg, and yes, that Tally-Ho that now hosts bands like the Reagan Years and, ironically enough, white Ford Bronco. They used to show movies, so my story checked out. Well, it might shock you to hear that we did not go see Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer in the movie Wolf. We went out drinking. And when I was in high school, my parents would always stay up and wait for me to get home, make sure that I came home safe, make sure that I didn't do anything to get in trouble. So that night I came home, and I remember preparing myself to talk to my parents and act as sober as I could. But surprisingly, they paid no attention to me that night. They were glued to the TV. They were watching OJ and the slow-speed chase with Al Cowlings through the streets of LA and the eventual police standoff at his home in Brentwood. So that was probably the easiest time I ever got home from my parents. Thank you, OJ. My first real tax-paying job was at Leesburg Pharmacy, where I made $4.50 an hour. So really, I probably didn't actually pay that much in taxes, but I got a paycheck. But if you think of Leesburg Pharmacy and you imagine a Rite Aid or a CVS today, that's the wrong idea. This was an independent, locally owned business by the Roberts family who are here tonight. Imagine that. And this was the type of place where people were there not at jobs, but some were there, it was their career. And I was not a career person there, I was a high schooler, but so this store, it had the pharmacy, of course, and the over-the-counter over-the-counter medicine that you might want, but it also had a boutique gift department. People would go there and they would shop for their Christmas presents, they would shop for birthday presents, and it even had a gift wrapping station. So one Saturday morning, about 3 weeks after that chase through LA, I was working and an older gentleman came in the store and went straight to the card department. And he was, he had a build, I could tell that he was probably somebody, real athletic build, so I don't know. I gave him a few minutes and I went over and I asked him if he needed any help. And he was like, well, yeah, I'm looking for a card for my friend, but I can't really find something that fits. And he tells me that he is a former football player and he's in town, and he's in town for the Bobby Mitchell Classic at Lansdowne Resort. And this was a yearly event that they did in the 90s and 2000s that Bobby Mitchell would host. And it had scores of football players, current and present, or current and past. It consisted of a golf tournament during the day and then a banquet at night. And so he was looking for a card that he could get for OJ Simpson and have all the guys sign it and send in support for him. So, you know, if you're ever, Hallmark doesn't really make a "I'm sorry you're in jail for murder" card. You know, with sympathy, maybe, but doesn't really hit the mark. So I said, I had an idea. What if we made our card? So the former football player, he really liked this idea, and we got to work. We gathered some supplies, a big heavy-duty poster board, plastic poster board, the kind that has foam inside of it, scissors and tape, lettering, glue, whatever else we would need. And we headed to the gift wrapping station. Now, I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something to the effect of, "Hang in there, Juice, we're all here for you." And I know we left a lot of room on the card for people to sign and write their messages. So we go to the cash register to ring him up, and he says, "You know, I really appreciate your help on this. This is going to mean a lot to OJ. This is going to mean a lot to the guys. Why don't you come out tonight and you can meet the guys?" Well, hell yeah. So he says, "Just go find the banquet room and tell the reception table that you're there. You're here as a guest of Lenny Moore." So I'm like, all right. I'm really excited at this point. I can't wait for my shift to get off. It's taken forever, but it finally does. And I go home and I see my dad and I say, "Dad, have you heard of this football player, Lenny Moore?" And he's like, "Lenny Moore? Hall of Fame running back for the Baltimore Colts, Lenny Moore?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, so now I'm really excited. Like, this guy was a football player, but now he's like football royalty. He's like Hall of Fame. And I just helped him make a card. So I call up my friend Pete Tarkin. He was one of the buddies I was out the few weeks before not seeing Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Nicholson in the movie Wolf. And I say, "Pete, get ready. We're going to Lansdowne. We're going to go meet a bunch of football players." And so he's all in. He comes over, and we head over. We're wearing our best teenage clothes, probably a collared shirt, maybe khaki pants, but probably, I don't know. And sure enough, but we find the ballroom, and we walk up, and I say I'm there with Lenny Moore, but Lenny is down the hallway, and he sees me, and he waves me back, and so we go back, and he's surrounded by a bunch of faces that some I recognize, some I don't, but when I get there, he's like, "Hey," he introduces me, he's like, "Hey, this is the kid that helped me make the card for OJ." So I'm getting pats on the back, handshakes, like, everyone's so happy and thankful that I'm there and I've made this card for OJ. So we go, and then he takes me to go see the car, and it's beginning to fill up with autographs, or with the messages and signatures from everybody. So then we take this opportunity to go get our own autographs, and we get a piece of paper each, and we go around collecting autographs from a bunch of the players. And one that stood out for me was Bart Starr was there. He was great quarterback for the Green Bay Packers in the 60s and 70s. And he was charging everybody for his autograph. He had a table set up. But for friends of Lenny Moore and OJ, no, we got ours for free. So he did not charge us. So after a while, we were getting all our autographs, and it's about time to go. We're not invited to dinner. So we make our way out, and Pete and I both leave with this paper of autographs of all these NFL greats, and then also Oscar Robinson, like all-time great basketball player. But we both end with these sheets of paper. Now, in preparation for the story, I wanted to find mine, and I couldn't find it, but I asked Pete, and he still had his, and he texted a picture of it. And on it, I could make out Jim Brown, Richard Dent, Sam Huff, Sonny Jurgensen, of course, Lenny Moore, and also Redskins kicker in the 70s and 80s, Mark Mosley, who I was named after because when my mom was pregnant with me, apparently I was quite the kicker. So I got his autograph too. But leaving there, being surrounded by all these guys, all these friends of OJ's and supporters, I started to think maybe he is innocent. Like this guy, maybe he's not guilty. Well, then the trial goes through, and eventually that opinion changes, and I go back to what I thought before. But it's just kind of amazing how being around celebrity and it can really change your opinions or ideas about things. So yeah, that's my story about OJ Simpson and the time I made a card for him. You come back next time, I'll tell you about the flower arrangements I did for the Mendez brothers.